Well, you can always depend on Georgia offensive coordinator Todd Monken to have the most interesting comments when meeting with the media, and they really slice through a lot of talking points from fans and some sort of idiot members of the press, which there's not a shortage of thanks to Twitter. But here's one thing that Todd had to say about his relationship with Kirby and so forth. And I'm going to skip the part he says I'm paid to score. I'm paid to score, which is true. He says again, there's a big part of what uh, of that where they think that Kirby dictates what we do on offense. No, he dictates that we play smart, that we be explosive, and we utilize our personnel, do everything in our power to win games for the University of Georgia. That's what we should do. Believe me, when I'm thinking game plan wise, I'm thinking about how we can be explosive, yet how can we run the ball to help us be explosive. You can't control the game if you can't run the ball comfortably. You can't you cannot control the game. And he goes on to talk about statistics and so forth. But Todd Monken in the last I'm going to say 12 seasons of college football has been one of the best offensive coordinators in the game. When you take a look back at what he did at Oklahoma State and then what he's done at Georgia, the time he was a head coach, the offenses continue to improve. And I think what he's getting at here is that there is a notion that people think that Georgia only wants to run the ball. Kirby only wants to run the ball. Well, that's not necessarily based in reality. And I think you're going to see this fall that there's going to be a lot of explosion in the passing game in a way that I wouldn't say we haven't seen before because we see it, I think, in a way that people don't acknowledge. And this group, again, though, Arian Smith banged up today, so that, or well, this week. So we're going to just see what happens there. But you've got some real players at receiver on this team, but really it all fits together, y'all. I mean, it's not just one thing. And he says if you can't run the ball comfortably, you can't win the game. And he goes on to say that comes from a guy that likes to throw it. My background is wideouts and quarterbacks, so I want to throw it. I enjoy throwing it. 2 years ago against Mississippi State here, we couldn't run it. We didn't run it well at all. That was on me. He was taking blames for that. He said, we threw for 400 yards, thank God, and won the game. Cincinnati, we turned the ball over a bunch and didn't run the ball nearly as well, but luckily we could throw it. Look, you've got to be able to run the football. That's it. I mean, this is the SEC. And let's just say you're playing Oklahoma or you're playing Clemson or Ohio State or whoever, all right? You got to be able to run the football. And they ran the ball plenty enough effectively against Clemson a season ago to win. The game against Alabama and Indianapolis, they ran it well against Michigan. So all these teams, Cincinnati, they did turn it over too much, but that was, in the 20 at the end of the 20 season. This guy is a very good coordinator. It doesn't mean he can't be replaced, but this guy has been a very good coordinator uh, at a time where we've seen some very good coordinators, generally speaking, in the game. Now, some of them are not coordinators anymore. I mean, Kirby was a very good defense coordinator at Alabama, right? I mean, I would say so. I think Mike Bobo at Georgia, particularly when his guys weren't banged up because of a Tennessee game, they were definitely, he was a very good coordinator. We've seen, I mean, Todd Monken, though, has been very good at different places, and that he wants to throw it all the time, probably, but knows you have to establish the run. You have to be good, not just at quarterback and receiver and at the skill spots, but on the offensive line and all these. But that's an acknowledgement. That's an understanding of the situation that you're in. And at Georgia, you've got to score, but you've also got to control the game. And we've seen that a lot from Todd Monken. Make sure you're picking up dog instruction. Y'all, listen, this is, I mean, I'm going to run out of these soon, unfortunately, because they've been a great, very popular thing. When you pick Dogstruction up, you get our 2022 yearbook, our preview of the season, included for free. I have not spotlighted this enough, but maybe I have because it's almost all gone. There are things in here you simply will not read online or get anywhere else. How do I know that? Because we wrote it completely this summer, with the exception of one thing. So make sure you're picking this up. You're going to need to get that today. Um, Dogstruction is excuse me, the 2022 preview is included with Dogstruction, so get that today. I think that Todd Monken has, you know, I don't know about changed Georgia. The James Coley decision by Kirby was probably his worst decision at Georgia in terms of coaching staff. That was not a fit. That was the wrong person. Jake Fromm regressed. Is that all on James Coley? I don't know, but he was not. He might not have been qualified, but somebody else can say that definitively. I'm not going to die on that hill. But getting Monken in gives you the ability to do some more sophisticated stuff, certainly to execute at a higher level. When you look at with Todd Monken, they have lost 3 games with him as the offensive coordinator, and in those 3 games, they were not just the door wasn't slammed on them. They scored at least 20 in all of those games. I'm trying to think of, 24 or more in those games. So it's not been that. It's not in those cases the other team really scored, in the 40s. So it is hard to win when you're in that situation. But I do remember a lot of folks being concerned about being able to score when you need to be able to score. They were worried about Stetson Bennett in a shootout. And I don't think we've seen Stetson win a shootout. We've seen him win a lot of blowouts. And blowouts are better than shootouts if you're winning, okay? Because it means your defense is getting the job done too. But I think bringing Todd Monken in has been one of the best decisions of Kirby's career. Um, the move to bring Glenn Schumann and Mel Tucker from Alabama was very good. Dell McGee was a very good hire. I got to say, I think that Todd Hartley has been a very good hire for Georgia. But Todd Monken moved them from a team that um, could be explosive to a team that was explosive a lot. And I think that what he's saying here, and I'll read this quote one more time from him again. He says, again, I think there's a big part of that where they think that Kirby dictates what we do on offense. This totally shows that coaches read what people say. But anyway, no, he dictates that we play smart, that we be explosive, and we utilize our personnel. Um, do everything in our power to win games for the University of Georgia. That's what we should do. Believe me, when I'm thinking game plan wise, I'm thinking about how we can be explosive, yet how we can run the ball to help us be explosive. You can't control the game if you can't run the ball comfortably. You can't. You cannot control the game. And we have seen over time that, certainly in 2021, that when Kirby's teams are at their best, they are running effectively. In 2019, that was a tough slog. And that team had James Cook, DeAndre Swift, Zamir White. Those guys were all on that team, and they had a real hard time running effectively. And they had an extremely hard time scoring. You may or may not remember that. But I think that I don't know how long the Todd Monken will be at Georgia, but I know this: he is paid well, he has earned that pay, and I think that he's been the smartest hire that Kirby's had yet at Georgia, and a string of really smart hires. But I don't know if they win the national championship without Todd Monken, and that's about as big a praise as I can give. I mean, this guy has started Dwan Mathis, Stetson Bennett, JT Daniels, Stetson Bennett as the quarterback at Georgia. Four different starters at three different starters at four different times. He was smart enough to have Stetson ready in 20. He was patient enough to get JT right at the end of 20. And Georgia, as it turns out, made the right call. And Todd Monken was quite clearly the person in charge of this that went with Stetson, period. So it was the right call. They did the right thing, and it paid off in the form of the national championship.